So we're here now at the Marian Library of the University of Dayton, founded by Father John Albert in 1943. The Marianist University is run by the Brothers and Priests of the Society of Mary. It was founded in 1850. In 1943 and the 1940s, we witnessed sort of a flowering of Marian devotion in the United States especially. Many Marian materials, and yet Father Albert at the time thought that these materials needed some type of a scholarly foundation, and that was one of the reasons for founding the Marian Library in 1943, that good devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary requires a good solid foundation in Scripture and in theology and the teachings of the Catholic Church. Well, the type of book we have especially are devotional books to Mary, and there was one type which is known as the Little Office of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Officium Parvum. And it's an adaptation of the large office, the liturgical office, which was sung by the monks. It had 7 times of the day in which one recited certain psalms. And we have the famous books of hours from the 14th and 15th century. But in the 16th century, we have the development of a Little Office of the Blessed Virgin Mary, based on the same pattern. One of the interesting things is it's a liturgical book, and it has the table of movable feasts. And in this Little Office of the Blessed Virgin Mary, which was printed in 1622, we have the movable feasts such as Easter and Pentecost. The calendar gives from 1622 until 1644. Another book we have here is a book from 1640, and it's especially the illustrations which are interesting in here. It's the book from the Seraphic Capuchins, and it's mostly the illustrations of the provincials and the significant people in the order. And for instance, we have here, this is Brother John, and he was the provincial of the Milan province. And then continuing on, we have Brother Lawrence. Here to tell us something about some of the artwork which we have, especially the 19th century devotional materials, is Professor Gillian Slater, our librarian archivist.
Today I'm going to show you some epinals. These were popular in France in the 19th century, and they're basically brightly colored prints that are on popular topics. These ones happen to be litanies of the Blessed Virgin and also the family tree of the Blessed Virgin Mary. We have a relic from the coffin of Saint Brother Conrad. So this is a piece of wood that is slipped into the back of this handmade badge, and this is from France in circa turn of the century. We also have a very old holy card here. This is from Antwerp in the 18th century, late 18th century, and it's a copper plate print, and it's hand colored. It's of Madonna and Child. I also have a pious souvenir, and this is bark and a leaf from the hazel tree in the Garden of the Visitation. Next, my colleague, Dr. Jason Bourgeois, will speak about some of the earliest books in the Marian Library's collection.
Here are some items that I'd like to show you from our rare book collection. The earliest form of book that we have is Illuminated Manuscripts. Before the invention of the printing press, illuminated manuscripts were the most common type of book, primarily done by monks who would handwrite each letter and then would usually illuminate some of the letters to provide decoration and then bind them together. This particular psalter is an example of a bound illuminated manuscript. We have no publication information, but likely it was done before the invention of the printing press. It's printed on vellum with gold letters, and the capitals are illuminated in various colors. We also have a number of incunabula, which are books which are printed before 1500 and which are considered to be especially rare. The earliest printed book that we have in the Marian Library is this book by Father Leonardos of Utino. It is a collection of sermons on the Blessed Virgin Mary and other liturgical feasts. The sermon for the Feast of the Visitation contains the earliest printed example of Italian vernacular poetry that exists in publication. This is a book of hours. which books of ours were printed for educated laypersons who wanted to share in the prayer devotions of the Catholic Church, and would often have these books created for them, which would contain psalms and other devotional prayers which they could pray in union with the Church. This is a combination of the other two types of books that I showed you. It is printed, but it also has these beautiful woodcut engravings along the margins, and some of the capitals, that is, initial letters of sentences, are colored in and illuminated. We have over 6,000 rare books. Most of them are printed between 1500 and 1800. So I'd like to share a couple of examples of those with you which are in that time frame. This is a miniature book. It's a very charming piece, one of my favorites. It is a little Office of the Blessed Virgin in Latin, but with devotional prayers in Spanish in the back, and also containing beautiful engravings for the devotion of the person who is reading it, bound in a charming velvet corduroy, and the size is always especially interesting. This book we acquired just recently. It was printed in Mexico and contains sermons in the Nahuatl language, one of the native languages of Mexico, including sermons about the apparition of Our Lady of Guadalupe, which is a central devotion in Catholic Mexico. People have a variety of reasons for coming to the Marian Library. Some come for the scholarship, to find books that are not found anywhere else in the world, or which are difficult to find in one collection. Others come for the artwork, or to experience piety or devotion related to the Blessed Virgin Mary. And so we try to meet the needs of all those audiences with our various collections.